Hi everyone, it's Nicole and I'm here with layout number 8 with the page kits that I made back in March, April in order to get ready for my crop. I actually made 30 page kits, and by the time the weekend was done, I made 21 layouts. I was able to film while I was at the crop, so you'll be able to see, from the making of the page kits right to making the pages. As you can tell, this page kit here is just filled with scraps. One of my favorite ways to make pages is using scraps, because when you start putting your layout together, you just look at your scraps and you just start playing around and seeing how you can move the layers of pattern papers and see how you can use them on the layout. So with this page kit, I had put quite a few 4x6 pictures with this page kit, but once I started playing with the pattern papers, I knew that having two 4x6 vertical photos was probably going to be my best bet to put on this layout so that it turned out the best for the layers that I was playing with. And again, I apologize that the pages are not filmed like it normally is when it's in my scrap room, but I figured it was better to have not perfect videos, and at least you could see the process of going from getting all the page kits ready right up to getting the pages together. Now, once I decided on the pictures I wanted to use, I knew I wanted to mat them on this dark brown or chocolate brown cardstock, and then that way those photos were really going to pop on the other colors that were with this page kit. One of my favorite tools that I have in my scrap room is those layering rulers. Now, each ruler has like 4 different sizes on the ruler, and it says the size. So underneath there's little notches with the different sizes. It goes from 1/16 to 5/8 of an inch. And when you butt it up against the photo, like you decide on the size that you want. So in this case, it was probably like 1/8 of an inch. I can, where that little lip is, I can butt it up against the photo. Then I use my craft knife, which is my other favorite tool, and my mat, and I just cut out in the center of the cardstock. And the reason that I love doing that is that it saves on paper. Instead of going to the top of the cardstock to make your layers, you just go in the center, and then I'm able to use that cardstock on another layout. Okay, so while I'm putting these layers together, you can tell that, I went and got some Distress ink by Tim Holtz, and I'm using my distress tool, and I'm just inking the edges of all the pattern papers. And again, these pattern papers are all scraps. Now, if you can't tell, one of them kind of has pears all over it, and you're like, what does that have anything to do with the pictures? Yes, there's no pictures of pears, but I just want to tell the story about this is at St. Thomas, and when we got off the ship and we started walking around, and it was all the same shops that were at all the other islands. And then I looked at, there was a big wall behind us, and one of the fares, I guess, or prices for a 2-hour tour was $25 a person. And I thought that was pretty great. So we found one of the guys and we asked him if he could take all of us. I believe there was 5 or 6 of us. I can't remember exactly the number, but there was 5 or 6 of us from all the same group. And then there was another couple that was with us, and they were from Texas. And this guy took us on a 2-hour tour of the island. But what I liked the most is it wasn't just like, over there it's this, island or this building or whatever. He would actually stop along the way and say, this is an almond tree, and this is what almonds actually come, how they grow. And that's the picture on the left, and the almond is actually in that. And he says that's why almonds are so expensive, because they have to open these all separately. and take the almond out kind of thing. And then the photo next to it, he stopped and he picked this leaf and he said, do any of you know what this is? And we were trying to figure out what it was, and it was a bay leaf, because by the time we get the bay leaves, they're all dried and they totally don't look like that. So I really liked that he went above and beyond and showed us different things on the island. And the other thing is that guy was hilarious. Like, he had us laughing and he was just so friendly, and it was just a great time. He ended up taking us to like a very touristy place, and it was like up this mountain, and then there was this huge gift shop that he told us we had like 15 or 20 minutes in there. And if you stepped out sort of like on their back deck, the view was absolutely beautiful. So it was totally worth the $25 to go and see the island through somebody that lived their eyes. I didn't actually get to do many excursions during the cruise. I think it's partly because once I got there, I felt sort of guilty that my husband didn't come with me. And every time I looked at something, I was like, oh, I wish he was here, and I wish he could be experiencing this with me. And then almost, the first day into the cruise, I was like, we're going to come and do this again, and then I can experience, the islands with my husband, and we can do some excursions together. But I did do a few of where they explain, the islands, or like the winery, not the winery, but the distillery that we went to, because that's sort of the things that my husband wouldn't really like to do. He would more enjoy, zip lining or doing more things that would be a little bit more adventurous. So those types of event or excursions I enjoyed doing, and learning about all the different things that were on the islands. So again, I took a little piece of Project Life card. I just cut it down, and where my journaling was already done, I just copied down the journaling on that journaling card, and then I put it at that awkward spot where all the pattern papers were meeting at the bottom of that cluster. And then I'm building some embellishment clusters. And, even if I'm just doing this by myself, I'm still looking at, okay, I have a cluster here, then I need to go up to the top of the layout, and then I look for another spot where I can put my third embellishment cluster, where then it will complete my visual triangle. And a lot of times it's not like a conscious decision that I make, but as I'm, doing my embellishment clusters, the first thing that I do is there any awkward little places where my pattern papers meet? Could I put one of the embellishment clusters there? And once I choose the first one, then I move on to the second. And once I have two of them on the layout, then I look at, where could I possibly put that third embellishment cluster. I normally like putting an embellishment cluster that's either close to my title or close to my journaling. And in this case, I did one close to my journaling. Now, I didn't really put a title on this page. What I decided to do was just grab some tiny alphas from Basic Grade. These are some of my favorite alphas. I think I got about 5 of the white ones, and then that way I can use them white, or they can easily be colored with the distress inks, and I can change the color to whatever color I want. At this point, my embellishment clusters are all on the layout. I'm covering the photo, and I'm looking for some mist that I can just add to the layout. I find that my layouts are never complete until I add that little bit of mist. And it's usually one of the last things I do because I don't want to end up putting my hands, in the mist and making a mess. And that's it. That's going to complete this layout. And I want to thank you so much for watching. Bye.